What's up guys, Sam Wild here from Guitar Legend. Today I'm going to be talking about the 10 things I wish I knew before I started playing the guitar. Number 1, everything you practice must have a purpose. Once you delve deeper into your guitar learning journey, you realize that there are so many things you can practice, so many things to work on, that there's no time to fit it all in. So you need to make decisions and choose what you're going to practice in each little session that you have. If you're going to sit down for half an hour to an hour to play guitar, what do you practice? Well, you want to practice things that fit your goal, right? I think of it like how an athlete would think. If you were training to be a football player, then you would work on your ability to move side to side, agility. You'd work on short and fast sprint, stop, right? Whereas if you were, let's say, a boxer, then you would do a lot of drills for your arms, right? So it's kind of the same with guitar. If you want to be able to perform in musical theater, under the stage with the band, then you want to practice sight reading and reading music. If your goal is to write songs, then I would learn some music theory and really know how to write chord progressions and good melodies. Number 2, you don't need to spend 8 hours a day practicing to get really good at the guitar. Okay, early on in my guitar learning journey, there was a point where I asked my teacher, how did you get so good? He was a pianist. How did you get so good at piano? And the drums as well. He said, oh, at college I played 8 hours a day. So I took that literally and went away and I played guitar every single second I had free. My friends would ask me to come play outside sometimes and I'd say, oh no, I need to play guitar, and I actually got a repetitive strain injury in my wrist. I couldn't play for, I think, 3 to 4 months, which just set me backwards again. But back then, I didn't know what to practice, so I was actually spending hours practicing things that weren't that beneficial. If you have an hour or even half an hour free each day, that is enough. If you really want to pursue guitar, then I would try and get closer to 2 to 3 hours. But the point I'm making here is, less can be more. As long as you're practicing efficiently and you're practicing the right things that are relevant to you, then you'll get to your goal just as fast, all right? So don't think, oh, there's no point in practicing today because I can only do half an hour, or there's no point in me playing the guitar because I don't have an hour every day. You don't need to, all right? You really don't. As long as when you do practice, that there's purpose and that you are trying to work and better yourself, then you will get there, I promise you. Number 3, don't spend longer than a week on one thing. Okay, this is sort of self-explanatory, but if you keep practicing the same thing all the time, you're gonna get bored, you're gonna feel like you're not improving. The best way to get better at something is to do it for a little while and then move on, okay? You can come back to it later on. You'll find that if you work on other aspects of your playing, that technique you struggled with a month ago, you come back to it, you're like, oh, now it's easier because you've strengthened another part of your playing, all right? So don't let yourself get bored, it's a little bit like training in the gym. If you train the same way, your body gets used to it and you stop seeing as much improvement. You have to switch up the training so that your body has to adapt and your brain has to think and etc. Right? It's the same with guitar. Don't practice the same thing for too long. Number 4, keep a practice journal or diary. So this is one thing I didn't do for a long time, and it was very hard to measure my improvement. It was very hard to measure how much faster I'd got at a specific exercise. It was hard to measure my overall improvement, in fact, because I couldn't remember everything I'd practiced in the past year. When you write everything down, okay, and you don't have to go into too much detail, you could just quickly scribble it out. It takes 10 seconds. You know, what you're gonna do for the next half an hour or an hour. When you look back at it, you can see how you've improved in speed if you play to metronome for certain things. You can also see everything you've done in the past year and you feel this sense of achievement. You're like, wow, I've done all of that. You're like flicking through this massive book of notes and things you've been working on, the things that you've improved, right? Also, when you write it down, you tend to internalize things. If you're playing away and you're like, oh, I've just realized something, you write it down and your brain internalizes it a little bit more. All right, so keeping a journal, diary is a good way of measuring progress, and it's a good way of seeing how far you've come. Number 5, learn music theory. So music theory helps so much with playing, and it's kind of scary at first. So I think a lot of guitarists just don't really know much about it and they stay away from it. Okay, I would advise just learning the basics, right? If you learn how chord progressions work, then you can literally listen to a song and figure out that chord progression so fast because you know how they work, right? You know how the scales work, okay? If you know how extensions on chords work, then you can play more advanced chords and it all makes sense because you understand it, because you've sat down and you've gone, why does this work, right? What is the pattern here? What is the pattern here? And you learn about music theory. Number 6, learn how to read music. Now, I'm not talking about reading tab, okay? Now, reading tab has its place, and I still do it to this day. I will read tab for something that just looks crazy in real music notation. But if you learn how to read actual music, then you open up some avenues and some doors, okay, to different types of guitar playing. So you could start playing in musicals, right? You can get involved in musicals because they can just give you the sheet music and you can just play it because you can read it. Okay, also, when you're reading music, it kind of goes hand in hand with music theory, right? So it just helps everything knit together in your mind. It also means that you can write out music chart. If you've got to learn 30 songs by the end of the week, you probably would turn it down and say, no, I can't do that. But if they said, oh, you can bring sheet music, then you could just notation for everything, notate it all down, take that with you, put on a music stand, and you could do the gig, you could do the show, right? If you can read music, it just opens up avenues. And a lot of guitarists, I think, from my experience, they put it off, or they kind of learn a little bit. All right, the key with learning to read music is consistency. So you just have to do it little and often, but try and do a little bit every day, every 2 or 3 days if you don't have much time to practice. Number 7, learn how soloing works before you try to copy someone else's solo. What I mean by this is, maybe you hear a solo in a song and you think, that sounds amazing, I'm going to learn it. Now, I'm not saying that there will be no benefit to doing that. However, if you learn how to make your own solos, if you learn how to map out the fretboard and you learn different soloing shapes, then it's going to make it much easier for your brain to pick up someone else's solo, right? Because you know about different techniques, different soloing methods, you know how to figure out what key you're in. And I found once I learned how to do all of that, I could hear a solo and I could pretty much just play it on the spot, or I could pick it up much quicker, right? If you don't know anything about the fretboard, it's so hard to learn the solo, right? And I don't think, all those solos that I personally learned way back when I first started out, I did manage to learn them, but it was really hard. I wasn't really ready for it. It sounded messy. And to be honest, I can't remember half of it. I couldn't remember any of it. I'd have to relearn it now if I listened to them again, because I couldn't change what key it was in or anything. I knew it, memorized the position on my guitar, okay? And that's not a waste of time completely, but it's just learning something in the wrong order, you know what I mean? So learn how soloing works before you dive into too many solos, trust me. Number 8, train your ears. So this is something I discovered a couple of years into playing guitar, right? If you can hear the difference, the gap between two notes, if you can hear what interval something is, all right, and if you can hear a chord and you know, oh yeah, that's a major 7, right, or oh, dominant 7 sharp 9 with a flat 9. If you can hear that, it makes everything in music so much easier. And you have to practice that specifically, right? You have to practice intervals, you have to practice hearing chords, hearing scales, right? All these kind of things that train your ear to pick up on the subtle differences. So when you're working out songs, how to play songs, you can hear the tiniest of differences. You can hear more subtleties in the chords and that sort of thing, right? Number 9, don't play everything one speed. All right. So guitarists have a tendency to try and play everything as fast as possible, or they realize that that doesn't work, so they play everything really slowly because they think if I do it slowly for ages, then I'll be able to play it fast, right? There are these two extremes that I think for the most part you want to stay away from, all right? What I've realized is you want to practice at speeds you're comfortable in, but don't stay on one speed. So let's say you wanted to learn a fast run. Practice it slowly for say 2 minutes, then practice it at a medium tempo for a few minutes, then practice it fast for a few minutes, then go back to slow. You've got kind of 3 tempos: slow, medium, fast. But make sure they're all within your capabilities, all right? What this does is it trains different mechanics in your muscles, right? You got your fast twitch fibers, your slow twitch fibers. You're creating coordination in different tempos, okay? Otherwise your brain gets used to playing a certain lick or riff in one tempo. As soon as you change it, oh, it feels weird, right? So work your way through the tempos and you gradually that top speed will come. Number 10, don't buy gear unless you really, really need it. Now, I'm just as much a sucker for this as other guitarists, but I have learned as time's gone on how to control myself a little better. But it's very easy to start looking at pedal videos online or guitar videos, amp videos, looking at gear, and you get so lost in this world of gear and you're like, oh, that will make me sound better, or oh, that would sound really cool on my pedal board, or that amp's better than my amp, or oh, this amp sounds the best, this guitar sounds best. And 1, you waste time looking for gear. 2, you don't really need, it's not about the gear really, is it? It's about how well you can play. If you put a rubbish guitar and a rubbish amp in John Mayer's hands, right? And then you put an amazing guitar, amazing amp in a beginner's hand, John Mayer's still gonna sound better, right? The beginner's just not gonna even know how to work the amp. So, you know, I'm just saying, don't get too bogged down with gear. I know I did, and I've spent a lot of money on pedals that I just didn't use, and then you end up selling them and you lose out on money. I remember buying a huge amp case because I thought I was going to go on tour, but it wasn't even confirmed, nothing was confirmed. And then I didn't go on tour and I had this ginormous case which I couldn't sell even on eBay. No one wanted to buy it, and I just wasted this money on a case that I didn't need. All right, wait till you actually need something. When you think, you know what, I need this phaser pedal because I know I'm going to use it in this song, this song, this song, then buy it. But don't see a phaser pedal and think, that's so cool, I'm going to buy it, without even thinking about what you're going to use it for. How often are you going to use it? Is it worth the money? Do you know what I mean? It's worth thinking about. Try not to get pulled in and suckered into all the marketing ploys, right? There we have it, guys. 10 things I wish that I knew back when I first started playing the guitar. Now, I could probably list off another 10 right here, right now. There's so many things that I wish I knew back then. Maybe I'll make a part 2 video in the future. Now, the reason I've made this video is because I don't want you guys to take ages getting from where you are now to where you want to be, all right? My journey looked like this, right? I was going side to side. It took me ages to actually get from A to B. Okay, if I knew all these things, then it would have been a much shorter journey, right? As soon as you get to your goal and your kind of that standard you want to be at, you look back at your journey and you think, why did I do that? Why did I do that? I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that. And I'm trying to kind of help you out here a little bit, right? Now, one thing I also wish I'd done, this is sort of like a bonus tip, was I wish that I'd learned from the right guitarist from the beginning, from the get-go. If someone had just said, here's what you need to do and you'll get there really fast, right? You just got to put in the work, put in the hours, but this is what you need to do. Then I would have got there so much faster, right? And it would have been more enjoyable. The process would have been better, less frustrations, less stop and starts. So if you want me to be that person for you, then go onto my website, guitarlegend.co.uk, and get signed up, and I will get you from point A to point B as quick as we can, all right?